Man, I'm tired of this shit.
Dude, I was listening to that. Leave it alone.
This is absolute trash.
I don't care. Driver picks the station. Shotgun shuts his cake hole.
Passenger gets first dibs on everything. I have my finger on the button.
You know what? You want to fight about it?
Yeah.
Okay,
fuck
fine.
you.
Hey,
Fuck you.
leave it alone.
No.
It's mine.
Turn your trash off. Now look what you did.
Hello.
Hello.
Bueller. Oh, there you are.
There we go. Now it works.
I was getting worried. I was like, he's been silent for more than 2 seconds. What's going on?
It happens sometimes. The one brain cell has to fight for supremacy against itself.
Don't you hate it when my problem is the extra chromosome gets in the way, and I can't figure out who's sharing it with me.
That's I really feel like that's a whole other issue.
Yeah, well, I mean, you have one brain cell, I have an extra chromosome. What's the difference?
And with that, welcome to Distant Harmonics Podcast.
I'm Frazier.
And I am Single Brain Cell Josh.
And I definitely don't smoke a pack a day, I promise.
Pack and a half. You don't lie to us.
No. This is what happens. Oh, my word. For those of you that don't know, at least in the Pacific Northwest, there's been this cold sickness flu going around this year. I tested. It's not COVID. It is the flu. Or the cold of some sort. It has been taking people out, and it almost one of the biggest characteristics is either it lasts for like a month or it comes back a second time. So for me, it came back a second time. I took 2 days off work 3 weeks ago, and then I was good, and a little bit of nasal congestion, a little bit of post-nasal drip, but no issue. And then last week, I had to take Thursday off because it came back and made me feel just run down, and I was out of it. Woke up Friday, felt pretty good, except for still the consistent nasal issue. Woke up Saturday and had a show, and my throat was pretty much swollen shut where my glands are. Like, my glands were super swollen, and one of them is, like, it trades sides, but one of them is always swollen because of the post-nasal drip. And my coworker sounds like he's had cotton shoved up his nose for, like, a month. He's fine. Like, he's like, I got good energy. I can go to the gym and everything. It's just this sinus infection, sinus issue will not go away.
Yeah, I've been having some nasty ones go around the south over here. We had I was out for 2 days with a migraine that lasted for about 4 or 5 days. And Same thing, like, nose was blocked up. I had insomnia for, I think, 3 days straight, couldn't sleep. And thankfully, it steamrolled over the rest of the family, but it seems like they kind of got a lesser version of it. It seems like I was the guinea pig that got the worst of it.
Yeah, it seems like whatever's going around is, like, just super nasal sinus related, and it just sticks with everybody for like 2 or 3 weeks before it fades off.
It's okay. The person that's in charge of all the health stuff for the nation now says that it's okay that measles came around because, you know, we'll find a cure for it, right?
Anyway, moving on. Welcome to Dissonant Harmonics Podcast, where we do music things here, not talk about how disgusting we are and what colors are coming out of our noses.
Mine is black.
We have a few news things. Yeah, that's not good. We have some news things to go over. I don't think we have a topic this week, and then we have some album reviews. We just couldn't come up with a topic, and we're tired, so leave us alone.
I built 2 beds today.
Yeah, and I've been smoking meats this morning after working at the bar last night, so I got up at like 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, and immediately got the smoker rolling and started getting that going. Do you want to start? Because I feel like you have most of the news stuffs, and then I don't really have anything on my end except for like onesie-twosies and a very strange Instagram account from a very strange band.
Frazier's also mad at one of the albums we're reviewing today.
I'm not mad at it. It was just... you know what, today, here's what I'm going to say. Today, I don't have the energy to be mad at it. I was just like, fine, this is what we're doing.
He's mad. Don't let him fool you.
I'm not mad. I just don't have the energy to fight back today. I was like, fine, this is what we're doing. Strap in, let's go.
You know who else doesn't have the energy to fight back?
Are you going to say Carnivore's guitarist?
No, David Johansen from the New York Dolls, because he died.
Oh, wow, that got dark real quick.
Buddy,
Hey, Chihuahua.
Buddy, we're going to go straight into the fucking void today. So it was reported that the singer of the pioneering punk band New York Dolls and their last surviving original member died at the age of 75. And just how wholesome the statement is amazing. So David Johansen died at home in New York City on Friday afternoon, holding hands with his wife Mara Hennessy and daughter Leah, surrounded by music, flowers, and love.
Oh,
he had
ain't that Pixar?
He had aggressive cancer, so that couldn't have been fun for anybody.
No.
But he had been sick for almost a decade.
Oh, geez, poor guy.
So,
by the way, we do have Studio Puppy in studio. Josh can see him in the very bottom left of my screen, right there.
Joke's on you. I can't see shit.
Right there. See him right there.
That's a smudge.
That's a Studio Puppy. See, it's moving.
No, it's a smudge.
Anyway,
you got big ass.
You might hear a couple Mama's sleeping, so you might hear a couple buzz and barks if somebody runs by the house that he doesn't like.
So everybody,
hey, come here, get him. Come here. Anyway, so unfortunately, passed away.
Next. He went public with a stage 4 cancer diagnosis, which was discovered 5 years ago. So he's been through the ringer for a while now. It looks like, which I mean, absolutely.
And you said like he's been sickly of some sort for 10 years, yeah?
Yeah, he's been sick for about a decade, but the last 5 years is when it's been actually elevated to stage 4 cancer, which the stage 4 is the one where that's where, okay, let me put it to you this way.
It's borderline terminal.
Let me put it to you this way. When my dad went in because he thought he had an ulcer and turns out he had stage 4 cancer in his lymph nodes, they basically just said, you know what? You can smoke the whole pack, Johnny. It's not going to do it any goddamn good if you quit.
Right, yeah.
So once you hit stage 4, it's
stage 4 is...
Yeah. It's no bueno. So condolences out to him and his family.
So I'll bring this one up. As I claimed earlier and Josh refuted, and now I have evidence that it might be coming true. I haven't won the battle yet, but I still have like 300 days to figure it out. Sleep Token has a quote. I like how the tabloids put it. They have a quote secret Instagram page that is sending people sheet music. I'm like, it's not a very secret Instagram page if it's sending people sheet music deliberately.
I'm pretty sure whatever it is on YouTube because it says that there's an untitled Sleep Token song on YouTube.
So with that being said, there is a chance that either Sleep Token is going to release new music, well, probably going to at least release new music this year, if not a full album, which I called again, Josh. Going to rub that in until the end of time.
Well, you still got time to be wrong.
Yeah, let's see, hold on, I got a whole nother 10 months to be wrong.
Hey, I've seen some crazy stuff happen.
I'll bet you money, I'll be honest though, I'll bet you the album doesn't come out till October, November, or December, final quarter.
Probably. So, if you're going to pick up the sheet music, then are you going to record yourself playing it to see what it sounds like?
Absolutely not.
Well, there you have it, folks. Fraser's not in Sleep Token.
I am not. No, I have a feeling with the atmosphere that Sleep Token's music produces, this will probably lend itself to being the fourth quarter kind of album to fit with the mood of the
concept
fall and winter. Yeah.
I don't know, the concept I feel like wrapped up nicely on Take Me Back to Eden, but also it's kind of one of those things with that band where you're not going to be able to guess what they do next.
Maybe they start a new story altogether. They did the sleep. You're right. They ended the Sleep trilogy, so maybe they move on and do some other kind of theme. As I yawn, sorry.
They pull a Ghost where they would say, "Oh, well, Ghost has a new lead singer," and it's literally just Tobias, just dressed differently each time.
Right. Yeah.
Because now they're on Emeritus 5.
But hey, they actually had people fooled through the first 3, to be fair.
Speaking of that, did you see that? I don't know how this became a headline again, but Tobias Forge's solo album apparently
which is called Ghost?
No, not Ghost. Tobias Forge's solo album before Ghost.
Oh, before I was like, I thought you were saying that he was going to release another like self-titled or self whatever album, and I'm like, that's just called Ghost. He's the principal songwriter in
Well,
Ghost.
before
So anyway,
before Ghost,
continue.
there was a solo album where it was just labeled as Tobias Forge, and I forget what it's called.
Right.
And it had been leaked on YouTube a few times, so everybody knew it existed. But apparently, it's been re-uploaded and re-leaked into YouTube, and people are rediscovering it again for the first or
Again.
second time. So I'm kind of wondering if
Huh.
we're going to actually get it. I know that there was some copies that have been floating around, but it was an extremely limited run. So maybe it's time that they release it or he releases it, but it looks like more and more
I
people are
say it's
leaking
already
it
been
out.
released. I say it's been released twice. You can't put that cat back in the bag. So
Might as well just put it out and make some money off of it. I've heard a little bit of it. I mean, it
right.
basically just sounds like a proto Ghost.
I say, well, at this point anyway, he's famous enough to where enough people will listen to it, and will click on it. Whether or not he gets good or bad reviews on it, he can always say, "Hey, it was written long before Ghost. I was refining my songwriting technique," and he's gonna make money off it.
Yeah, he wasn't, I think, a different metal band before that, but it was probably one of those small bands that didn't really go anywhere without, you know, the image of Tobias Forge as the singer of Ghost now.
Right.
All right, do you want to hit your story before I hit the sad story?
Well, I got a really big story that we were going to talk about with some
Why don't you
lawsuits.
go ahead and talk about that? Because my next one, we're gonna have a fun story after the one I tell.
Okay. For those of you who don't know, obviously, Aaron Stringer, we talked about this last week, was dismissed from the band officially, the Amity Affliction,
Because the Amity Affliction was
um,
pushed into making a statement about it.
by Aaron. Basically, Aaron posted on his Facebook, actually, I think it was his Instagram, that he had been fired from the Amity Affliction, and so they were kind of forced into saying, yeah, we fired Aaron.
Did you see that
Which to me
they're
didn't make any sense.
posting
Like, just come out.
updates about their upcoming tour? They're doing a show in
Yeah.
Graceland right now, but the picture that they're using for the Graceland show actually still has Arn in it.
Oh, no. So I have seen the tour updates, but I haven't looked at the photos very closely. So with that update, furthermore, which we can get into the legal details of this, Aaron is officially suing Joel Birch, who break it down. But basically, the two principal owners of the band are Joel and Aaron. The way that it is split legally currently is 25% is owned by Aaron, 25% is owned by Joel, and 50% they own jointly. For those of you that can't do math, that equals 100%. The problem with this is Aaron is suing for full rights of the name Amity, the Amity Affliction, and Amity Affliction, so that basically Joel would have to start a whole new band.
Basically, the rest
And
of
as
the rest
much
of the
as
members would have to start a new band. The other three that they got.
Yeah, well, actually, so this is where speculation goes in. The problem is that Aaron has a really good leg to stand on because he is the only original founding member left.
Right, because Joel
And
technically is not a founding member, but I think he's on every album.
correct. Beyond that, Aaron does write most of the music. In fact, he has given interviews which have not been disputed and and this was years ago, like through the history of the band, has said, yeah, no, so like I wrote the song Pittsburgh. I wrote all the music, had all that done, and then Joel came in and had the lyrics for it. So Aaron has been the principal songwriter of pretty much every song, and I'm sure he's helped Joel write a few of the lyrics. Like, even if he's written one lyric and 100% of the music, he now owns more of the music than Joel does.
Right.
So with that being said, with him being an original founding member, him being the principal songwriter, he has a giant leg to stand on to say that that band might become his. Now, my speculation is this is what's going to happen. Well, two things. First off, let me start by saying this. A lot of the comment section are backing Aaron. Almost no one I've seen is backing Joel on any post of any music thread of anything. I have ignored, when I do looking into comment sections to use as polls, basically, I ignore the band's page and I ignore the party's page. So that would be Aaron's in this case, because everybody under them is obviously going to support them. If you go to Loudwire, Blabbermouth, Metal Sucks, Metal Injection, any of these, and you start flipping through all of the comments, almost everyone unanimously is rooting for Aaron in this case, which doesn't help Joel because public perception will bleed into the courtroom. Hopefully they get a really old judge that is neutral and doesn't know what metal music is. But if any judge knows what the Amity Affliction is or was, they're gonna know that they're gonna have a siding with Aaron already. So I don't see this going in Joel's favor. I think what they're gonna end up doing is settling. Joel's gonna be able to keep the name, and Aaron's gonna get a giant chunk of something. Is what's gonna happen, or Aaron's going to keep his 25% and be able to keep making money off of it, or his share is going to go up to 49%, something like that. So there's either going to be a giant settlement. Actually, that's what will happen. Let me back up. There'll either be a giant payout for Aaron, like a lump sum of money, and then he is done with everything. Joel will have full ownership of the Amity Affliction. Or Aaron's going to win this case, and what I'll bet will happen is everybody will abandon Joel and join Aaron's band, which will now be the new Amity Affliction. The reason I think that is because, especially since COVID, and I don't bring politics into this podcast, but ever since the first time Donald Trump was elected, Joel has gotten really known for being a douche online. And I don't mean that because I don't like his political views or anything like that. I mean going through and cussing people out, lambasting them in the comments, stuff like that, blocking people, becoming just an absolute jerk is what everybody has said. Is he's kind of gotten on this soapbox type pedestal, and he is just tearing into people. Not to mention the fact that Joel was one of the main proponents of the Senses Fail versus Bad Omens feud back in 2019, 2020. The Amity Affliction got into that, and that's why I didn't follow Amity Affliction for a little while, because they supported Senses Fail and tried to bully the younger band Bad Omens, and now Bad Omens is bigger than Senses Fail and the Amity Affliction combined. So I could see the guitarist and the drummer, who own no stake in the band, they're more or less hired guns to play tours and maybe play the parts in the studio, jumping over to Aaron's Amity Affliction if Aaron wins this case.
Well, Aaron's also been working a lot with what's his name? The old vocalist from Volumes.
Oh, Gus.
Yeah, Gus Farias. He's been talk,
which I don't think is a good combination, but do what you're
I
do.
don't like Gus's vocals. He sounds very lazy when he does his vocals, especially with Volumes' last album.
I don't even worry about lazy. I've just heard that Gus is a terror to deal with.
Yeah, so I'm kind of hoping that if they reform Amity Affliction, that Gus is not the vocalist. They just redo it, a new band, and just keep that name under lock and key that nobody else can use it.
Yeah. There's another side to this. A lot of people have brought this up in the comments that, and I don't know this. This is strictly speculation and based on hearsay. That there's another way that this makes Joel look bad, because when Joel was going through his alcoholism and issues and mental health crises, that's where the entire album Let the Ocean Take Me came from. Aaron was there supporting him the whole time. Now that the shoe is flipped around, Joel has basically booted Aaron from the band the first chance he got. This again doesn't look good for Joel, and only backs up the rumors that he kind of is a jerk and doesn't really care about anybody and will step on whoever he needs to get wherever he's going. So I will say this unbiased or unprejudicedly, I hope and think Aaron's going to win this. Just from a legal standpoint, and either way, Aaron's going to come out on top one way or another. They might even do the Queensryche thing and have two versions of the Amity Affliction, but everybody's going to go see the Aaron version. So, with that being said, with all that speculation and legal jargon what you will.
I kind of agree with you. I mean, we had the same problem with Fear Factory in the early 2000s, where
Right.
Burton and Dino both owned shares of it, and then Dino went on to form Divine Heresy, and Burton had to basically reform Fear Factory with new members, and still to this day you cannot find the two only Burton Fear Factory albums on any streaming services, and that's
Right.
Archetype and Transgression. I have those albums, and are they great? No, but it's still technically Fear Factory. But since Dino doesn't make any money off
Right.
of it, they completely have erased those from existence. And now that Burton has legally given up his rights to Fear Factory, because when they did that 2009 album, Mechanize, it was essentially quote unquote a new Fear Factory that they reshuffled the rights to, and they became very mediocre, and then Burton left the band or was kicked out. There's two different stories with it. And now they have a new singer that they're touting around, but they haven't put any new music out with him.
Right.
So I think I feel like it's going to be a similar situation where
Yep.
if Aaron gets the rights to Amity Affliction, that Joel and whoever decides to band camp up with Joel from the band or even from their past lineups, it's just he's going to go tour out there and try and play the songs that he might have the rights to or might have more rights to. And then it'll just be a clusterfuck. It's all it's going to be.
Here's the other thing you got to realize. Again, Aaron, for a fact, this isn't up for debate. For a fact, Aaron has written most of the music of Amity Affliction.
Right, because Aaron originally started out as their guitar player and then switched to bass, so he's been making half of the music no matter what.
So wherever Aaron goes, if he takes the Amity Affliction, let's say Aaron loses his case and can't be Amity Affliction anymore. Whatever music he writes, regardless of what vocalist he works with, is going to sound more like Amity Affliction than Amity Affliction will because their principal songwriter is gone.
Yeah.
And for people that don't know, this never goes well for a band.
I'm looking at you,
Whenever
Architects, but
I've-
also because your guitar player died.
Whenever you see a band replace or remove their principal songwriter, regardless of their shares or whatever in the band, or even if they're despicable, like they remove their principal songwriter, the band starts going south. It's just the way it is. One of the best examples I can think of this is Trapped. Their first two albums were their best albums, and then Simon Ormandy, who was their original guitar player and songwriter, is gone, and then the whole feeling of Trapped changed, and then it's been a downward spiral ever since.
Honestly, I forget the Trapped are even a band until they pop up in the news or pop out with a new album.
Yeah, I would say the only exception to this might be 3 Days Grace, that I can think of, because they did kind of get better and get not better, but they got popular. They took them a while to get some traction, but they did start making some headway. But I don't think anybody would agree that the Matt Waltz albums were better than the first 4 3 Days Grace albums. So
Well, now it doesn't
I'm not
matter
saying
because
it's
I
a
got both
band-
of them in the band.
Right, and I'm not saying this is a band killer, but losing your principal songwriter and trying to start doing a rotating door of songwriters never bodes well for a band.
No, and I mean, look at the difference between Operation Mindcrime and Queensryche. Which
Right.
one tours more extensively?
Right.
And who's good? People are going to want to hear the voice that they are recognizing from Queensryche, and that's Jeff Tate. Even though Jeff Tate, from what I can tell, is kind of a flabbergasting human being, but
Right. I mean, again, that's what I'm saying is, despite the fact that this principal songwriter might be a jerk or not, not a well-liked person, people will still like that music more than they will the original music, than they will the band name, the original name.
I'll give you a good example because the Chris Garza podcast talked to Chris Barnes, and he was talking about how when he was kicked out of Cannibal Corpse and they brought on George Fisher, obviously Chris Barnes was doing 6 Feet Under at the time, and Cannibal Corpse is kind of like Metallica where they don't want other members really doing a lot of side projects.
Right.
Barnes even had said that 6 Feet Under to this date has still sold more albums than Cannibal Corpse because people are gravitating towards Chris Barnes and his writing style, and whoever he writes those albums with, they gravitate more towards than Cannibal Corpse, who arguably has kind of put out the same album for about 20 years.
Right.
So, that being said.
All right, moving on to the next one.
Hey, do you know the band Carnivore or Carnivore AD?
No, I don't. I've never even heard of them. I thought you would know who this
I know
band
who
was.
this band is. It's Peter Steele's crossover thrash band before Typo Negative, the doom and gloom goth band that everybody loves.
The Drab Four.
Yes. So, their guitar player Mark Piovanetti this is the best part, not the best, arguably the worst, but him and his wife were recently arrested for sexual assault of a minor.
Oh, I didn't even read into that part. Oh man, this got way worse.
Oh, buckle up, buckaroo. It's going to get real bad.
All I sent you was the headline that said that ex-Carnivore guitarist charged with sexual assault and neglect of a minor. I didn't realize that it was both combined.
All right, buddy. Well, let's teach Frazier some new stuff today. In a press release issued by the Bergen County prosecutor, Mike Musella, I'm not apologizing how to pronounce your name.
You're doing terrific.
It was revealed that a reported missing child from New York City who was between the ages of 13 and 16, so obviously they're not going to tell the exact age, was found by police in the company of the musician and his wife after an investigation had been launched concerning the teen's whereabouts. Do we want to flip a coin and see how heads or tails if it's going to get worse?
We can just say it's going to get worse.
According to the investigation report, Piovanetti allegedly provided the teen with marijuana and assaulted the teen in his residence between February 22nd and 23rd. The investigation also revealed, this is all from Loudwire, by the way. The investigation also revealed that Piovanetti's wife was at home during the time of the alleged incident and that she was aware of the child's presence along with another child under the age of 13 who was also at the house.
And not their child.
No, I don't think these people are allowed to have children. They're not going to be now. So he was charged with 4 counts of second-degree sexual assault, second-degree luring, second-degree endangering the welfare of a child, and 2 counts of third-degree endangering the welfare of a child because he was luring people into his house.
Where's the charges for providing recreational drugs for a minor?
I think we're more worried about the big stuff.
I'm just saying, if it's me, tack on every charge you can, man.
So with all of that, he goes to big boy jail. He ain't gonna be in Gen Pop in big boy jail. 100%.
Well, he's not very young either, so he ain't gonna live through his sentence.
Him and his wife, because his wife is also charged with all of these things too.
Right.
So, we'll have to update as this comes out. This is a very recent development, but yeah, Piovanetti's a piece of shit, and he going bye-bye.
Right. Alrighty. Is there any other news we have to hit? You have some other ones. I'm out. I have no more bullets in the
Founding bassist Chris Bietti. Sorry if I'm not apologizing for your name. From Hatebreed. Is a founding
Dear Italians, put the pronunciation underneath your name, please.
Picture it. Sicily, 1922. So, Hatebreed bass player is one of their founding members and has exited the group after a 30-year run with a band. But according to a new statement from him, the decision to leave was not of his own volition. And it looks like there is going to be some legal action. Of some sort. I'm not sure exactly what it means, but he says, at this time, I'm unable to discuss the specifics surrounding my departure from Hatebreed on November 13th, 2024. However, I want to clarify that the decision to leave the band was not mine and that my departure was uncalled for and based on misleading and wrongful statements that will be subject to future actions.
Dun, 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 dun.
He's forming a new band with Aaron.
Oh, Jesus. What, the 2 bassists?
Well, Aaron plays guitar, too. He originally started as their guitar player. So he can
Right.
play guitar and Chris can play bass, and they can just call it the lawsuit.
You know what? I just thought of it going
Hmm.
back. Think of how much Aaron sings on all of those albums.
Especially the older ones.
Like All Fucked Up, the song.
He's the primary singer.
Like now that I'm thinking about it, I'll bet you Aaron wrote most of those lyrics, and especially wrote his choruses and stuff.
Well, what about Misery?
Yeah, I mean that whole album. So, with that being said, there's your proof that there's a giant case that Aaron can win that. Okay, moving on.
Hey, you remember Oceano?
Who?
They're not gone. They're not gone yet, but
Right.
further update on Oceano. So their farewell tour has had a slight change of their lineup. Notorious dropout bands, See You Space Cowboy, or no, See You Next Tuesday. I'm sorry. No, See You Space Cowboy was the original one. So See You Next Tuesday has dropped off of the tour with Oceano because the singer, Adam Warren, had come to find out that he is trying to pay off an artist that made the banners for for the big promo for the ending tour. Man, that brain cell is struggling today. Drew the attention of the artist who shared that he had submitted similar artwork for the band for usage, only to be turned down and eventually see a slightly revised version of his work used by the group later. So, seeing new artwork. So, Adam Warren paid this guy, Chris Gallen, to make the promo for the touring lineup for the final tour of Oceano, their swan song.
Right. You're doing
How
great.
much money do you think Adam Warren tried to pay behind the scenes to make this go away? I'm gonna give you a hint. Have you watched Trailer Park Boys?
I'm gonna give you $100 to
That's
fuck off.
exactly it. He attempted to make good by offering Gallen $100 to settle the dispute.
Jesus Christ.
So, not long after,
Man, I start to sound like Doom Eternal characters right now.
you know what? I'm in a good mood today, Leahy, so I'm gonna pay you $100 to fuck off. So, not long after, Oceano's social media profiles were all wiped clean, and I Declare a War, who are among the openers, also removed mention of the tour from their social media. And the opening act, See You Next Tuesday, announced their intent to bow out of the tour completely, sharing their discomfort over the tour adamant controversy, as multiple members of the band also worked as visual artists, relying on the creation of art for their income.
So this is all coming back down to Oceano?
So what had happened was Adam Warren contacted this artist to make the promo for the farewell tour. Didn't end up using it. He passed on it.
Right.
And then I've seen the two shots side by side. The only difference is that there's a slight difference in color.
Okay.
So
basically they ripped it off and changed the shading on it and then tried to call it
yes. So when it came to Chris Gallen's attention, he contacted them and said, "Hey, you owe me money for this because you said you weren't going to use this. Now it's gone from purple to slightly different color." And
Right.
Adam Warren tried to do this behind the scenes and say, "I'm going to give you $100 and we're going to call it square." And Chris Gallen said, "No." So, that being said, See You Next Tuesday is no longer part of this tour. Escula Grind has taken the vacant spot on this tour. And I don't know. I really think that Oceano should just call it a day. And just, as much as I love Oceano, it's been nothing but problems for them.
Yep.
So I think it's just time to be done and call it a day. And
Yep.
again, it's just it's not funny. It is actually really fucked up to have your artwork and your hard work go completely under the radar and not get what you are owed for it. But the fact that I can say that it's so closely related to Trailer Park Boys telling $100 to fuck off just makes my entire day.
Right.
So that's our news today. So we have some albums to talk about.
We do. Let's do yours first because I think we're going to have more to talk about with mine.
No, I don't think so, buddy. I got a whole article talking about this. So, my album this week is a bit of an anomaly. Fraser's not going to know anything about what's going on with this album.
I know everything about this album. I'm going to pretend to know everything about this album.
Don't lie to people. It's not healthy. So,
Jesus is watching.
Man, he's going to be really upset about what I did last night. So, after 2 decades since this album came out, there's a demo version of this album that has now been re-released. So, the band we're talking about is the band Impaled. Oh, lordy, they're a special breed of death metal. So, 2 decades ago, they released an album called Mondo...
Emphasis on the special.
There was 2 decades ago, they released an album called Mondo Medicale, and it's a ripper. I mean, Raw Sewage from Impaled also plays in Exhumed, and if that kind of tells you what Impaled sounds like, it's gross, it's nasty, and I love it since middle school. But they recently just came out with an album called Demo Medicale, which is all the original versions of the songs from Mondo Medicale demoed out, ready to go, and set the path for what Mondo is going to be. So, in a recent conversation with Decibel, Sean McGrath, Raw Sewage, and Raul Varela talked about Demo Medicale and talked about the fact that Necropolis Records won't release Mondo Medicale.
Okay.
So, unless you have a physical copy of Mondo Medicale, you're not going to hear it unless you have a shitty YouTube rip of it or the physical album. Right. So, in 2022, their guitar player had passed away, and Raw Sewage kind of just let it go. They're not going to fight about it anymore. But they have the rights to the demos from Mondo Medicale. So the existence of Demo Medicale came as a shock to the band itself. Labar, who had engineered and mixed Mondo Medicale, gave the demo recording to his wife, who in turn gave it to McGrath. And now they can re-release the demo album. And when I say demo, and people think of what demo sounds like and means, this is a rough demo.
This is before it even went into production.
So these are recorded on a digital 8-track mini disc. Mm-hmm. And death metal is not supposed to be pretty. That's just it. It's not supposed to be pretty. But Demo Medicale takes it to another fucking level. And it was not just a money cash grab to try and, say, hey, by the way, Impaled is still a thing. It was more Impaled's middle finger to the record label and saying, well, if you're not going to let us release or re-release this album, fuck you, we have the demos of it that we own the rights to.
Uh-oh.
So, Fraser, what did you think of Demo Medicale?
Definitely sounded like a demo.
He loves it, ladies and gentlemen. He loves it.
This is just the blast beaty, fast, heavy as possible music that Josh likes that I just don't get and don't listen to. And I tried listening to it this morning and I just could not understand it.
Well, yeah, you can't understand the lyrics.
Not that too.
The funny part is, so did you listen to the last track on the album or did you stop halfway through?
I listened about the first 3 or 4.
The last track on Mondo Medicale was basically a big fuck you to the label, and they didn't notice it at first. But when they finally read the lyrics, let's just say that that kind of put the nail in the coffin for them not having the ability to kind of touch anything on this album as a band.
Right.
So, Impaled is known for kind of their tongue-in-cheek humor of being just a disgusting death metal band. I was in middle school when I found out about this band, and I think I might still have their album Death After Life, which was I think their second album. And if you just love nasty death metal that's just going to make people really kind of stare at you when you're trying to blast beat in your car, I think this album is for you. Just look into the history of this album, and that is enough to say, you know what, even if I don't like it, props up to these guys for actually sticking up for what they know is good music to them. And a label that's not going to try and give them anything out of that album is a nice fuck you. I don't know if it means if Impaled's coming back or if they have been coming back. I believe they played 2 shows in Washington recently, but Ross Sewage has been touring as a bass player and backup vocalist for Exhumed for a long time now. I believe Impaled, I don't think has been around since about 2005 or 6. Maybe a little bit later, I could be wrong. But they never really took off. So it's cool to see this band kind of come back and be like, hey, we don't care if you guys know we're still here or not, but here's this.
Right.
And then also, by the way, say fuck you Necropolis Records, because now it's back out again. So it's a rough album. It's a demo album. So that's why I'm only going to give it like about a 6 out of 10.
Right.
But
I'm not going to bash on it. If it's supposed to be put out so that they can release it without the record company oversight, then I'm not going to worry too much about its production quality. And honestly, it's a funny thing. I wasn't terribly worried about the production quality. It was just again, for those of you out there that like extreme metal or death metal, this is totally the album for you. Not the thing for me. It's just blast beaty the whole way through, and do your thing. Do what you do, boo boo.
Fraser loves it. Let's talk about our next album. I have words about this album.
Yeah, actually I do too. I don't have a whole lot of bad words, but I do have some words. So I'll put it out forward. This is one of the biggest probably metal albums anticipated this year, seeing as Memphis Mayfire's put out 8 of their 10 tracks, and they still have they have exactly a month to go before their album comes out. Anyway, Architects new album. I'm going to quote it right now because I pulled up everything, because I actually have notes on what songs I really, really like or didn't. The Sky, the Earth, and All Between is the name of the album. Josh, what did you think of this album? That way we can argue back and
Man,
forth.
By the way, I love this new Linkin Park album. Man, I don't know who came out with that last Linkin Park album with Emily on vocals, but this new one is it's heavy as shit. I never expected this one.
That's actually pretty fair. I will say there's a lot of similarities.
I feel like this album. Okay, let's put it this way. Architects went through a huge loss when their guitar player died. I believe his name is Tom
Yes.
Cyril.
Tom. Dan is still the drummer. His
Yes.
twin brother.
So Tom was also a primary songwriter for Architects. The primary.
He also wrote all of the lyrics.
So that being said, after Tom passed away from cancer, arguably, yes, their music's going to be different. Their album they came out with after that was still pretty solid. I forgot what that album was. It had Doomsday on it. Hereafter.
Oh, Holy Hell. That was probably their best. That was what I would say is their best album.
That is so far what a lot of fans have said. That's kind of the definitive Architects album.
That or All Our Gods Have Abandoned Us. I think those two are pretty close.
Because that was the last one that Tom contributed anything to, was All Our Gods Have Abandoned Us. That's the one that I originally first heard when I got into Architects. So,
right.
Arguably, Architects has kind of bounced around with their genre a little bit. Sam Carter, their lead singer, has kind of gone on to say, if Tom was still alive and in the band, they basically would just be still a metalcore band. So he's fully admitted that they're trying to incorporate different stuff into it.
Right.
What is this album? What is it?
Do you want me to tell you?
So we talked about this yesterday or the other day. This album really feels like it's so aggressively 50-50 between an electronic rock album and trying to retain the fan base they had from their older albums. And it bounces around too much for me. We're kind of bouncing too far on the ends of different spectrums for me to really say, I dig this album.
So this is where I disagree.
You don't get to disagree with me.
I do. I know what you're saying with. So the way I listen to this album is yes, So first off, let me start by listing off the tracks, and I'll say which ones are definitely on the heavy spectrum and which
there
ones
are good
aren't.
songs on this album.
Elegy. There's a lot of good songs in this album. Elegy, good song. Whiplash, good song. Black Hole, good song. Everything Ends. I give it like a 7 out of 10. It's not great, but I actually like what they did with that. Brain Dead is a heavy track. So the first 5 tracks are heavy.
Brain Dead was the one that
I'll
kind of
give a little
surprised me having House of Protection on there.
Yes, I will get a little bit more nitty gritty here in a minute, but the first 5 tracks are heavy. Evil Eyes is where it starts losing me a little bit, and it actually starts kind of getting almost a little too poppy. Then Landmines is okay. Judgment Day is kind of, I guess, the ballad of the album, if you want to call it that. And Broken Mirror, and then everybody knows Curse, Seeing Red, and then Chandelier is definitely the ballad.
I really was hoping that Chandelier was a Sia cover. I really went into it.
So I'm gonna start off on the top with Elegy. I think when I first heard this song, I was disappointed, and then I realized what they were doing. So Elegy, Whiplash, Seeing Red, and maybe Black Hole. No, not Black Hole. Are basically directed to the fans, literally verbatim, are directed to the fans that bitched that they weren't heavy.
Seeing Red is 100%. As they've stated that
Elegy,
Seeing Red is 100% a big F you to the fans that keep complaining that they're not heavy enough anymore.
But the funny thing is, look at the lyrics to Elegy, the first track. It's also the exact same thing, just in a gentler package. It does
I'll show you a
start
gentle
out, and
package.
Well, they do this. They did it on purpose, I think. It starts off super soft with piano, and then leads in, and then stops, and then it hits you in the face with a blast beat, and just gets heavy from there on out. Until the last 10 seconds, where it slows back down to that piano bit, and it slows down, and I think the last line is something along the lines of basically telling everybody to shut up.
See, this is my problem with this album, is it's so much almost like cut and insert different genres into these songs.
Let me read the last line of this.
You got this. I believe in you.
Hold on. Blah, blah, blah. Where's the
Wow,
chorus?
that's a terrible line.
So the chorus, I gave you all a part of me, but I found you at the murder scene. You questioned my integrity again, but I rose above the gravity, the sky and earth and all between. You've written out my elegy again. So the whole first song, especially through the chorus, is just directed at the fans of saying, you said that you'd always be there for us, and then we found you at the murder scene is the joke. And then obviously Whiplash, all that. I like, and here's the way I address it, except for obviously Chandelier and Eyes. What did I just say? Something Eyes. Was just looking at it. Evil Eyes is up and through the first 5 songs. I loved what Johnny, what's his name? Johnny K, the producer, when he was working with Stained, said about their self-titled album. He's like, every song on this album is heavy. They're not all fast, blatantly, disgustingly, brutally heavy, but they're all heavy. He's like, you have punk heavy, and that would be the one with House of Protection.
Yeah, Brain Dead.
Brain Dead or something like that. Brain Dead. You have pop heavy, but still kind of slower, sludgier heavy. That's Everything Ends. You have, stereotypical groove, which is Whiplash. Then you have like almost genty with the triplets. That's Black Hole. And then you have like that Linkin Park heavy with Elegy. So you kind of hit all these different styles of heavy and hit all the subgenres. And then after that, it kind of breaks up and starts doing other things other than other than Curse and Seeing Red, and obviously then Chandelier and whatever. Um, I liked most of this album. This to me is a lot like the Lakeview album. The songs that are bangers on here, and there's probably, let's see, there's 12 songs. There's probably 8 or 9 songs that I love off this album, and they are absolutely good. The other ones I could listen to, but I would prefer to skip them. So I'd say, yeah, 8. I would say almost everybody's going to like 8 or 9 tracks out of this album. I actually don't really enjoy Brain Dead. It's kind of like...
It's there.
It's a House of Protection song with Sam Carter on vocals.
House of Protection is too good.
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like a House of Protection song with Sam on vocals. That's what it is. But like everybody's gonna find at least 8 or 9 songs they like, and the other 4 are gonna either be throwaways or kind of skippable or whatever. So I liked the album. I The only thing I'm disappointed in is that we basically got all the heaviest songs as singles.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, they also put out the single for
Brain Dead only came out 2 days before the album did.
Well, they dropped it right before the album came out, which
they should have left that on the album as a secret and then drop it after the album came out.
Yeah, because I feel like when you put out a single 2 days before an album comes out, it kind of defeats the purpose of just having the album come out.
Yeah. Yeah, just let the album come out. Let House of Protection's version of Heavy be the House of Protection's version of Heavy. And then, yeah. My problem is that they put all the heaviest on. If they would have saved Black Hole or Curse and hoarded those and maybe put Elegy out instead as a single, I think more people would be way more excited about this album. But since we got all the heavy stuff right off the bat, now there's like, okay, is there more of that? No, unfortunately, there's not.
I don't know. Like I told you outside of the podcast, I listened to this album about halfway through and I had to shut it off. And I had to go back and finish it later. But I've also been like on a huge stoner rock and stoner metal kick lately. So it's honestly the only song that really kind of catches me is Black Hole, just because I think Sam Carter has a really good set of low vocals, and I'm happy that he's actually utilizing it for a change instead of just kind of throwing it out at live shows. But it almost feels like a gimmick at this point to me.
I think they overused it a bit this time around. For
yeah,
sure.
Like he's got a good set of low vocals, but he's only got one tone for his low vocals. So, like I said, like.
So it can only be used as like taglines.
Yeah, so it's kind of one of those things where it's cool to hear it live when he throws it in to songs that didn't have it originally, but now like throwing it so hard and heavy into this album kind of, I feel like it kind of just takes the magic away from having him surprise you with it live. But I honestly wouldn't be surprised if once we get past this album, if they start becoming more of a rock band.
Yeah, they put out a heavier album just for the sake of shutting people up, and now they're just going to go back to rock again.
Well, here's the problem: is they put out a heavier album, but a lot of people didn't vibe with how heavy they're trying to be on this album because it almost feels disingenuous at this point.
I doubt. No, I don't buy that bullshit. People are just mad because they're writing. Here's what I think people are mad at, because you pointed this out from Lamb Goat.
The Lamb Goat article, I will say, was bullshit.
It was bullshit. Lamb Goat can go jump off a cliff. Here's the problem. Jordan Fish jumps on, and everyone thought they would soften up and sound like crap. And it was also, Jordan Fish was the scapegoat for Bring Me the Horizon sounding soft. Now that Jordan Fish has joined Architects and they did a heavy album, everyone's mad because Jordan Fish is on the album.
So is he joined the band, or does he just do production on the album?
He was production, but he also helps write, like he does. But like he's doing production, so everybody thought that when he jumped over to help Architects produce the album, oh well, Architects is going to get soft again. Here we go, just like Bring Me the Horizon. And now that everybody's been proven wrong that Jordan Fish wasn't the problem in Bring Me the Horizon, they're all pissed off and want to just rag on.
Bring Me the Horizon is a very strange case where Ollie Sykes stopped doing ketamine, but only got weirder. which
Yeah.
is literally the polar opposite of what happens. Normally, you stop doing drugs and you start kind of evening out. He just went off the rails after he stopped doing drugs, and now Bring Me the Horizon. I don't even know what the hell to classify him as.
I think the line that they're being heavy in disingenuous ways is a load of absolute bullshit. They're like, no, fine. You've been bitching so long about us doing heavy. Here's heavy. Suck it. We can do it all day long, every day, but it's not what we want to do. And so they rubbed it in everybody's face, and it wasn't disingenuous. They did it to say, look, we can still do this. We just don't want to. And now everybody's mad that, like you said, this will probably be the last time they're heavy because they proved they can be heavy all they want, but people don't like that they're not heavy all the time. There's also a level of you're not going to please everybody, so don't try.
I feel like when Holy Hell came out, I feel like that level of heavy was more organic and had a nice flow to it.
But they had softened up on that album.
And yeah, it was arguably still a softer album coming off of All Our Gods Have Abandoned Us. But what was the next album? That was
that was the one of the astronaut for those
Those Who Wish to Exist or something like
those
that.
we left behind.
That one, I feel like, kind of is what is going to end up happening for what's going to be their next album. Maybe not with Royal Blood on there, but they've had like their heavier songs. They had Winston from Parkway Drive feature on a song, but they also had the singer of Royal Blood feature on one of the songs. And
right,
I honestly feel like that's kind of where Architects is going to go. I mean, that big arena rock sound that they can do. I mean, Parkway Drive did it, and they still can maintain their heaviness. Architects can
well, and that's where the sound of Everything Ends is. That was kind of my point with Everything Ends. Is it's still heavy, but it's that heavy Bring Me the Horizon arena heavy.
Right, which, I mean, good for them. They can fill out an arena. They can sell out bigger shows now and still throw some of the older heavy songs in there and call it a day. This album, I like Black Hole, I like Whiplash, I like Seeing Red, but the rest of it kind of feels like Sam Carter was listening to a lot of old Linkin Park and was just like, hey, Jordan, I kind of like this idea and sound. And Jordan...
That's the other thing you can't expect a band to bring in Jordan Fish and not have it have a whole bunch of electronic elements.
Yeah, that's Jordan Fish's bread and butter right there. That's how he make him money.
So I give it a 7.5 or 8 out of 10. It's definitely songs I will come back to, but not a full album I'd come back to.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it a solid 7 out of 10. I mean, it's gonna be an album I can put on and listen to and find something that I'm gonna latch onto and be like, oh yeah, I forgot about this song, kind of bop around to it. But is it gonna be a choice? Is it gonna be a fair fight between this and listening to like Holy Hell, or even go back so far as listening to like their old stuff like Gravedigger, stuff like that, self-titled.
Yeah.
Nah, it's not going to really be a competition between the two. I'm going to go back to their older stuff, but Architects is they're making their name, they're making their footprint on the metal community, and more power to them. I'm boring Fraser. He's falling asleep over there.
I'm tired. All right, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have been the Dissonant Harmonics Podcast.
I'm still
Fraser,
Josh with my one brain cell.
and we will catch y'all later. Bye.